Hoi, ik ben Tom Lassing, beursbox.nl. Ik ga samen met een soldaat met de callsign Kim ga ik praten over de oorlog in Oekraïne. En Kim is onderdeel van de Azov-eenheid. En hij is een drone-operator in die eenheid. En hij is regelmatig aan het front te vinden. Heeft nu even tijd om met mij daarover te praten. Ik heb er een drieluik van gemaakt. Het gaat over onder andere de drones, over de geestelijke gezondheid van de mensen aan het front en over het winnen van de oorlog. En dat loopt allemaal een beetje door elkaar. Het is een heel leuk gesprek geworden. Ook een heel leerzaam gesprek als je wil weten hoe dat er dan voor de soldaten aan het front, hoe dat eruit ziet en hoe ze de eenheid hebben opgezet, hoe dat werkt met die drones. En ook over de drones wordt het een en ander gezegd. Dus ik denk dat het een zeer interessante serie aan video's gaat worden. En ik hoop ook dat je wilt doneren. In de beschrijving van de video staat hoe je kan doneren. Dus alsjeblieft, als we allemaal een paar euro doen, dan wordt het toch een prachtig groot bedrag. En we zien dat er ook een bonus aan zit. En het bedrag wordt, zover als de sponsor dat kan doen, verdubbeld. Dus dat zou dan ook nog eens een keer mooi zijn. Dus alsjeblieft, heb je wat geld erover, voor over, doneer dan ook voor de oorlog in Oekraïne. Ik nodig je uit om verderop de video te bekijken. But I'm so glad to talk to you. And well, I'll suggest we'll start. And
Okay.
then we'll have some things. The first thing I do want to ask you, and I'm not sure whether you can answer that, is your name and your unit. Is that something
Uh,
you can say?
I'm able to share my name and my unit because there are no specifics here. So my name is Ivan. My call sign is Kim, and I'm part of the Unmanned Systems Battalion inside of the 12th Azov Brigade, which is now a part of a bigger First Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine, as you've I think already know.
I know. Thanks. So that makes you part of the Azov unit, and one of the strange things, strange or beautiful things, is that the Russians are most afraid of Azov. There's no other unit they are so afraid of as Azov. And I just wanted to know, why is that? Are you better fighters? Are you, yeah, well, what is it? Why are they
It
so
all
scared?
First of all, it all comes down to motivation and the idea that we all share, the brotherhood and camaraderie in the this shared struggle. I think Russia, Moscow, Kremlin, call them whatever you like, Putin, they fear the idea the most, and they fear people who spread this idea and who show them what's possible, how to resist properly, and what can we do when we actually are united by this one shared ideal of what we see, like the future of this Ukraine that we want to implement this free and prospering nation. It's not just about some will call it nationalism, some will call it the idea of freedom, some will call it Euro integration. It doesn't matter. What matter is Russia is afraid of ideas of free and prosperous people living near their borders, which they themselves call illusory borders. Like they think we are their people. They think that we are one nation. They think we share the same religion. They think we share the same language. And I'm not going to go into this historic lesson that Putin likes to give all his guests, as you know, to the Bronze Age or something. I'm not going to refute that, especially to all your Dutch viewers, especially. I think it's something that hits home uh, with the MH17 tragedy and everything else. I think you, most than other people, understand our struggle and what's happening here, and the lies and manipulation that comes into this strategy of this fifth or fourth generation of warfare, what they implement all the time, trying to label us as fascists, as Nazis. Well, you've heard all these lies already,
Yeah.
but what they fear the most is this integral component of the idea that we are a free and sovereign nation. And one of the most combat ready units that inflicted one of the biggest casualties I think there is. Also the campaign of the 2022, the siege of Azovstal, the Mariupol campaign. I think it just signified the importance of leaders and heroes such as uh, Redis, Kalina, whatever. These people showed them that we can actually put up a fight, and
Yeah.
they will never forget this one. So they are more afraid of the idea, as I already said, and it happened throughout the Ukrainian history if you just look at it. But our guys are motivated, no matter who you are, like a drone operator or whoever, you're always ready and you're trained to enter the battle. You're trained to stand your ground. You're trained both physically and mentally to be prepared to take up arms and do what's right. And that's how we go about recruiting people here. So everybody is voluntarily joining up with us, and they understand their commitment to, well, the cause, but the cause is real. We are fighting for our land. It's an existential war for us, for, I think, the whole regiment, the Azov as an idea. It's an existential war because if we are to fall, it's not just about Azov or it's not just about Ukraine. It's about the totality of Europe and who comes next. Who comes next? Obviously, Poland. And uh, obviously Baltic states. I'm not going to talk about you guys. I'm not going to be fear mongering here, but as you can see, with the drones flying into Poland and all the recent developments in the world, they are unable to punch through our wall, our Ukrainian wall, essentially on the east, like this great Chinese wall, whatever you can call it, that is repelling this barbaric invasion. And with everything that's going on, we're not faltering, we're standing our ground, and it just proves that it works everywhere. It just works in your head as in motivation for your struggle. It helps you cope with the horrors of war because obviously what we're talking about here is UAV control and operating. It's not actual war fighting, but some of our guys, me including, we came through the infantry pipeline, infantry to drone operator pipeline. We understand what happens on the front lines, and we understand that the only thing that will keep you inside the battle is the motivation and your brotherhood of people, the camaraderie that I've mentioned before, that will help you stand your ground. I don't think that the whole, I'm not going to be bad mouthing the Ukrainian army. I'm just telling you how it is in Azov. It's always about our brotherhood. It's always about our nation. It's always about our country. Why are we here? We all understand the mission with clarity and purpose. That's
Yeah.
basically all it is. And it's enough to make Russians fear it. It's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's part of the things we can relate to as Dutch, because we had the fight with Germany, of course, not only in the Second World War, but yeah, the centuries before that as well. So we were the small country, independent, and Germany the bigger brother next to us, and that's just like Ukraine and Russia. So we can relate to that. And yeah, well, one of the things I do like the most is the fact that you show them that if you have resolve, you can do a lot. And one of the things that Russia, the biggest mistake they made was we can do this in 3 days, and yeah, that's something you can be um, grateful for, that they were thinking that yeah, this is no problem, we can do this, and that makes that you can, in my opinion, win this war, because you never win a war when it's taking you so long. You can win a war fast, but you never can win a war in a long run. You will lose it, and that's history has proven that. So Russia has lost the war. They don't realize it, but they have lost the war. And the only thing now is, how does it end? Because yeah, well, they have to find a way, and that's something you are making sure that they have to. They have to find a way to get out of this war, but in a way, well, that it ends. And I have a few questions, because you have a drone behind you, and
Yes.
I'm wondering, there are two drones, I think, and how does this work? I'm not sure whether you can tell us, but if it's like one drone and you have one drone and you fly it, then you crash it on the target and then you fly the next one, or is it you have 4 or 5 drones in the air and then pick one and pick the next one? How does that work? Can you tell us?
Oh, that's a beautiful question, by the way. So I'm a UAV operator. Didn't tell you what I actually do here, but that encompasses everything: the assembly of the drone itself, because obviously it doesn't come out prearranged. Uh, the attachment of the combat load, the explosive charge, what have you, and also we are all proficient on the in the FPV drone controlling. But this, what I'm showcasing here, is one of the pipe dreams that we and our command unit has for future operations. This is a kind of a motherboard drone that will carry out multiple different FPV drones and will act as a relay for suicide bombers that will be following suit. So it will allow long range deep strikes to be provided more efficiently without neglecting the electronic warfare. As you know, electronic warfare is a huge component of modern warfare, modern battlefield, and it is a boon to us, but also we have a displeasure of facing the enemy's electronic warfare. But it's just a pipe dream. What we have behind me is an actual representation of a UAV, or as Americans call it, UCAV, unmanned combat aerial vehicle. It's a test. It's a test drone. Don't be alarmed. I can show it probably because it's made of a carton and some other dirt cheap materials, so that new recruits and people who have never dealt with drones can actually understand the aerodynamics and understand the idea behind controlling a UAV. Because we use this word drone for everything nowadays, but we have to understand that it encompasses Mavics, DJI Mavics, and Autels that can be used for reconnaissance. And someday, at the end of 2022, I think some Ukrainian guy understood that he can use servos underneath this Mavic drone, and the flashlight can be used to drop grenades on enemy positions, which was an ingenious idea. I think that's what turbo started the development of FPV drones. So this one, it's a box standard drone that we use just to train ourselves in. And then, as you know, right now, what is the next stage of development is we're adding the fiber optic control cables here to circumvent the electronic warfare totally. So the main difference between this drone and that drone behind me is that this can only be used for combat operations, but sometimes it can be used as a reconnaissance tool as well. The camera here can never be as good as the one installed on the fully fledged fixed wing aircraft. That's why you will see a lot of Ukrainian recon drones flying over the enemy positions as the ones that look like behind me. Russians are also using, don't get me wrong, Russians are also using this technology, but they're employing something like an Orlan, which is a heavy and cumbersome aerial vehicle that uses a petroleum engine as well. They're using those Zalas drones as well to scout our positions, and we're using our different mobile firing groups to take them down. So it's a two-way street, right? It takes, like American President Donald Trump used to say, and I think it's his favorite saying, it takes two to tango. We have to be aware of enemy drones and plan our flights accordingly. So the one behind me can be fitted out with a combat module, but you have to understand that the combat module is just another servo that I was talking about in a Mavic drone that just drops down another bomb. Or this whole platform can be outfitted with a charge and sent as a one-way ticket to the enemy position, whatever that can be. An antenna, a ground relay base, stockpile, ammo cache, what have you. But our most important mission out there, as far as my crew goes, we're dealing with the anti-air systems, and we're trying to destroy as many as possible just to make life for our aviation easier and to carve out a path for our troops by destroying the electronic warfare systems. It's antennas that you can spot almost anywhere, and we require as much drones as possible for that because Russians are good at scaling stuff, and just because they're more Russians than us, they provide their troops with the dirt cheap components. Some of them are sourced from China, as we know, Iran, and this new axis that is being formed, North Korea as well. Uh, they are they do not lack these dirt chip components that in when amassed they create massive disadvantages to our ground troops. So everything that we as drone operators do is aimed at helping our infantry and tanks and what have you armor to provide better defenses and take back our land.